There we go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Coding with Nihilus. My name's Ram, and I'm a developer advocate at Nihilus.
Hi, I'm Black, Senior Developer Advocate here at Nihilus.
How you been, Blog?
I've been doing fine, thanks. And it's funny because we did a live stream yesterday. It's the
Yep.
first time I think we do two in a row. So, yeah, how are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah, we've done quite a few. We've had a good rhythm of live streams of late, so it's been exciting to kind of bring up everything new and exciting with API v3. So that's our latest version of our API for Nihilus. And we've been also kind of like at the forefront, just kind of building code samples and doing live streams and blogs. So definitely check us out at nihilus.com/blog. A lot of content is going to be coming out there. And I guess in this live stream, we're going to jump and talk about how to build an email responder with generative AI. And this has been a topic of interest for at least myself for at least the past couple of months, because I've been doing this using the Nihilus email API, where I use our email API and I'd create either a vector database where we can store all the past emails to kind of send to an AI model, or even just Hugging Face. So Hugging Face is just a community or a repository of generative AI models that you can use to generate text with, and you could pass it an email message or a prompt and generate an email draft. So what we're going to do in this live stream is we're going to look at a generative AI feature that's part of the actual Nihilus API. So it's called Smart Compose.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
So the idea here is that you can actually use our API directly to actually pass in a prompt and actually receive a message draft if you want to draft a message. And as well, you can actually respond to messages as well. So the very powerful thing here is that given that the Nihilus APIs give you access to all the messages, you can use that message as a part of your context to a generative AI model. So you can say, here is the previous message. Can you respond to it in such a way?
Cool.
So let's jump in. Maybe I can start sharing my screen, then we can look at code samples. So let me share my screen. And we're going to first look at how we can actually compose a message. And I'm going to be doing this in the Node SDK, but you can do this in any one of our SDKs. So we have SDKs in Node, Python, Ruby, Java, Kotlin.
Yes.
And I think I missed one. Did I miss one?
No.
Okay. So we have quite a few SDKs, and as well, you can use our APIs directly to do this. So here is the first function that we're going to go through. And in this example, let me just do full screen. There we go.
Cool.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Nihilus SDK. And this is the latest version of the Nihilus SDK that is compatible with API v3. So we're bringing in some environment variables. And as Blog mentioned on our live stream on yesterday, the inputs or the variables that you need to configure the SDK have changed. So the only one that's mandatory is the actual API key. So this is when you create an application, you can create multiple API keys. Here, we're going to pass in the API key. And something that I like to do just out of habit is I'm going to pass in the URI. So this is the actual Nihilus API that you're communicating with. And this can be different based on different regions. So this is a region dependent. So we do have support for both the EU and the actual North American region, or the US regions. Those are the two regions that we support. But you can grab all this information from both our developer dashboard or our Nihilus developer docs as well. So once we have those pieces of information, we're just going to start configure the actual Nihilus instance, the Nihilus SDK, so we can start going ahead to actually compose messages or use the Smart Compose functionality. So inside this async function, what I've done is I've actually composed the message here. So what I'm doing is I'm doing nihilus.message.smartcompose, and I'm saying compose message, and I'm going to provide it with a prompt and inside the request body. And before we talk about this, I just want to identify or clarify the grant ID. So the property identifier is what's passed into the Nihilus Node SDK. And this is essentially a grant ID that gives you access to a specific user's communication provider, whether it be their Gmail account, their Outlook account, any type of grant that the user provides you or permission, it's represented as a grant ID that you can actually grab from using our sandbox environment from our developer dashboard. But this is the ID that represents the permissions the users granted you.
Yes, exactly.
So now jumping back to the request body, this is where I think it gets more interesting, is where we can pass in any prompt that we want, and it will generate an email message for us. So we can go ahead and use and actually send that email message if we like. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this and make sure I'm pointing to this inside of my package.json. So I'm just going to make sure the start points to that file. So it's going to be Smart Compose. And I'm going to go over to the terminal next, and I'm just going to load up and run this file. So I'm just going to do npm start. And let me scroll up so it's at the middle of the screen. There we go. And the idea here is that we should get a message that we can use given the prompt that we provided, and we can go ahead and send this message off to someone afterwards as well. So the important thing to note here is that you're actually pinging the Nihilus API, and then as well, Nihilus will ping the actual generative AI model that we're using internally to actually get the response for you. So here is essentially, I'm not going to read the whole thing for you, but this is essentially a message that given the prompt, I want to send a message to my colleague on how to use the Nihilus APIs. Here's a message that's created by the AI model or generative AI model that you can go ahead and modify. And as well, you can go ahead and send off to anyone that you want using the Nihilus email API.
That's pretty cool.
And the great thing about this is that you can plug it into your existing workflows for email. So you don't have to actually go and plug and play or try out different AI models. You can use this out of the box and take advantage of the AI models that we've decided to use for creating this feature and functionality for you.
And I was going to say, this doesn't seem to have any sort of limitation of kind of like the length. I mean, the response is quite big.
Yeah, so actually I had to give it a limitation. I gave it a limitation of 250 words. But you're right. It actually made a much longer response initially when I was testing this out. So you're right. I don't think there's a large limitation or a limitation that I know of when it comes to how much is sent back to you.
Oh, that's cool.
And another one I want to go through is I want to go through something that is as useful is where you're actually able to go ahead and respond to a message that you received. So this is much more powerful where you already have a message ID. So here I passed in a message ID, and we've gone over what the identifier means. And the message ID just represents an email message that we want to actually provide a response to.
Yep.
And inside the actual prompt, what we're doing is say, hey, let's go and respond to this email in 150 words or less. And for now, just because we're doing a live stream, I've said not to mention the sender's name, just so we can keep it
Good idea.
hidden from the actual stream. And let's see what the Nihilus Smart Compose response functionality does for us. So I'm just going to run this in the terminal as well. And another thing I want to highlight is you're getting back the actual message. You have to actually go ahead and take one more step of sending that message off. So that's not something we're going to cover in this live stream. But the idea is you'd actually get back a message that you can go ahead and pass into the actual nihilus.messages.send functionality. So let's go ahead and run this in the terminal. So I'm back in the terminal. I'm going to run npm start. And here what it's going to do is it's going to take one of the past messages that I passed in or a message ID that I passed in, and it's going to give me an actual response to it.
Oh, nice.
So I think the context here, I can give you a bit of an example. I know Blog reaches out to a lot of our developers that sign up to Nihilus just to kind of say, hey, what are you looking to get information on? How can we help you? And I know Blog passed on this developer's contact information to myself. And they've been building an application. We've been going back and forth. And I think their last message was reaching out to ask for help or something, or for something very specific. Yeah. And then my response is kind of say that, this is still on my to-do list. It's been a very busy week, and I just want to make sure I have enough time to get back to you, and that you can get back to that I plan to get back to you by the end of Friday.
Cool. And it even grabbed your name, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it's a good first step to kind of bringing in generative AI functionality into your application very easily without having to go into the generative AI space, which can be very challenging and as well time consuming.
Yeah. So you don't need to install any extra libraries or anything like that.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's another option as well. Like you can go down that path and bring in your own generative AI models. But if you're already going to build an email integration, you can just bring in and use the AI models that we've decided to use right out of the box.
That's cool. Yeah, so you don't need, as I was saying, to tell anything else that does the Nihilus package.
Yeah.
And that's going to grab everything for you. That's cool.
Yeah. And I think this is a good place to kind of talk about communication data and generative AI. If we look at the amount of data we have across all our communication data, whether it be calendar invites, our contacts, or even just all the email data we get, this is a great place for generative AI to kind of be a part of. So I know in the past blog, you ran a hackathon with generative AI Nihilus, and we had so many contributions. And as well, I've been doing talks on the same concept as well. And this is great that we can bring in a feature into the Nihilus email API called Smart Compose, where you can actually take advantage of generative AI and improve your email workflows, or be able to kind of create those first few drafts and modify that over time. So you actually are able to get to, inbox zero much faster, or able to respond to users much quickly as well.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes better, right? Because right now when I'm writing blogs, I use ChatGPT to just make it better. So if I can have AI to make my emails better, that's awesome.
Yeah. We forgot to mention this, so please go ahead and like and subscribe. We have live streams, we have blogs coming out all the time, and we love to kind of have you follow along and reach out to us, and as well catch the latest and greatest. So make sure you like and subscribe so you can catch us live.
Yeah, totally. We're
Um,
always looking to hear from you guys what do
Yeah.
you want to see on the show. So just let us know.
Awesome, and I do also want to plug another place you can reach out to us. So this forums.nihilus.com is a great community that we're starting out for developers that want to work with Nihilus and build with Nihilus, or curious about ways to integrate other tools with Nihilus. So we've had conversations around no-code tools and Nihilus. So we welcome all types of developers or individuals building or curious about Nihilus to jump on the forums and ask questions. And we're always checking out what's happening there, and we love to interact with you on our forums.
Yeah, 100%.
So what's next?
Yeah, so next one is a really nice one. This is one that I really like. So it's how to create your own scheduler using Python and TypePy. TypePy I covered before. It's like a full stack framework for Python, which allows you to create a full website without any knowledge or HTML or CSS. So it's pretty powerful. And we're going to have that next week.
That's awesome. Looking forward to that and all the exciting things we have coming up. It's been a busy month of all new content, new V3. So we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks all for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Fran. Bye. Take care.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.